show, it is this Effen show, it is this Effen show.
Welcome to This Effen Show, a podcast by two trans men of a certain age.
We're back. I'm Uncle Drew.
Trans dad, Spencer.
That guy. How you been? How are you?
I'm good. It's been lovely the last 2 days because we've had some rain, which has been much needed.
My California heart is jealous, although it has not been 112, so it's felt almost like winter here. So,
Right. Well,
yeah.
I mean, basically once it dips past 90, you're like all bundled up.
Speaking of rain, did you hear the Olympics started?
I did. I've been watching like kind of nonstop, really.
Yeah.
I'm the thing that has struck me the most this year is the shift in technology,
Yeah.
right? Because so now I'm just getting streaming services, like nobody subscribes to like regular TV anymore.
Yeah.
Why? Why watch things,
Yeah.
in real time when you can watch them whenever you want?
Yeah.
So one of the great things about Peacock is that you can go and just look at individual sports.
Oh.
You go to the Olympics hub and then you can just look at individual sports that you want to look at.
Okay.
And then it does replays for you because, of course, the live stream of this stuff is happening at like 2 a.m.
Right. Hey, I know Sweden got a medal.
We've gotten 3 so far.
Congratulations.
That I know of. So we got our first ever medal in judo. Young woman got bronze. Okay. We got a bronze in, I don't remember what that one was, and we got a silver in 10 millimeter shooting, air rifle shooting.
Fantastic. These are all badass sports. Good job, Sweden.
Yeah, and the places that we tend to do the best in the summer games are shooting events, riding, all of the equestrian events, which they're not finished yet, so don't really know what's happening there.
But have you seen any of the equestrian events? Like,
yeah, I watched
on the grounds of
Versailles the other day.
Like,
right? I know.
Oh
I know.
God.
Yeah, no, I watched the eventing the other day, and I was watching dressage earlier today. So,
yeah, I mean that's not a bad gig. Sorry, I got to go to the Olympics, ride my horse around the grounds of Versailles. Wish me luck.
Yeah, I mean it's just Tuesday, whatever.
Yeah. Can we talk about the opening ceremony?
Speaking of equestrian, did you hear about? So the Canadian equestrian team, they get these like big 747s that they create giant cargo holds out of, and the horses have these climate controlled little stables that they bring on and all of that. So they call it Air Horse One.
Air Horse One. Yeah, we were watching, and my partner, there was somebody from Australia, right? And dressage, right? I think it was Australia. Yeah. And she's like, that's a really long trip for a horse. And I was like, they're okay. they got it good. Air horse.
No, they fly better than the rest of us do.
Yeah, they're fat.
And, from the sounds of it, there have been a number of Grand Prix competitions in Europe leading up to the games, and so most of these horses were transported to Europe quite a while ago.
They've been hanging out. They're just waiting for the game.
Yeah,
it's good life. Okay, but for real, did you watch the opening ceremonies?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you?
Probably the best opening ceremonies I ever remember seeing.
Thank you. Here's what's up. And I'm a one human being. I'm a small one, right? But everybody I talk to in my life that is queer or is cool, right? Is like, these were beautiful. It was lovely. And every straight person I know is like, this was a bumbling mess. This was horrible. What does this have to do with anything? And I'm like, were we watching the same channel?
No, we were not. We were not. We were
clearly.
We were on Earth 1. They are on Earth 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, because my
On
broadcast was
Earth 2, they are offended by everything.
yeah,
Like
yeah. This just
literally
in
everything.
yeah. Newsflash: art causes feelings.
Are
Yeah,
you sure
yeah,
about that?
yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That
yeah,
does
yeah.
that really happen?
It does happen,
Oh,
and it's supposed to
hmm.
happen. It's kind of built in.
Well,
It's
that's
kind of
right. Yeah. No, I remember now.
yeah. It's right there in the
Yeah.
programming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. I kept like every segment. I kept saying, "God dang it, France," because it just got like cooler and cooler and cooler.
Yeah.
Like
You know, that we were commenting as we were watching it on just how brilliant it was in terms of historical detail and cultural references and
yeah,
art and music and fashion and all of the things that I think about when I think about France.
yeah. Yeah, and you nailed it exactly. It was like, oh, that's a historical reference. Oh, that's a cultural reference, right? Like the host country did its job, I think, right?
Right. Yeah.
Here is a
So,
artistic representation of France.
and what's cracked me up is the people who are like, they should have spent time on the athletes, not, we don't want to know about France. It's like, tell me you've never watched Olympics opening ceremony without telling me you've never watched an Olympics opening ceremony.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it
That's
was.
what countries do,
I thought it was very French.
as it should be.
Yeah, and also all the historical references of this very ancient city, right? All of
Right.
that, and then we're going to throw in some French metal, and then we're going to throw in some French hip hop, and then we're going to
Right.
throw in just like club culture fashion show because it's fucking Paris, right?
Right.
Like it was, and that weird spirit of France that ran through the whole thing and then turned into the
Yeah.
spirit of the Olympics. I loved it. At first, I was like, "What is this?" And then I loved it. Like I thought it was
Right.
great.
It's like, oh,
Part,
we're having a Joan of Arc moment now, and now we're having a this moment, and
yeah.
apparently there was like a whole segment that was about Assassin's Creed because that was created by a Frenchman, the
That's why he
game.
was parkouring all over the rooftops of
Yeah, so that
France.
was all the parkouring stuff.
I will say at the very end when the little Spirit of France dude parkoured and was walking up stage, my partner was like, takes the mask off and turns out it's Celine Dion the whole time. Like,
Yeah,
but
I was kind of
also
waiting for like what the reveal was going to be, but it
yeah,
didn't
but no,
matter.
no. And then yeah, Celine coming in singing Edith Piaf. Like
Oh,
I'm not even
I
a
mean,
Celine fan
tears,
because yeah,
tears.
her music is not for me. Obviously, her voice is a gift from God, right? But her music has always
Right.
been a little
Yeah.
to me. But I was like, Celine put out an Edith Piaf cover album. I will buy 5 copies, right? Like that was
Yeah. Yeah. And then you had the people who were like, I didn't know that Celine Dion spoke French.
no,
Oh
no,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like, what rock have you been living under?
goodness gracious. All right, so
I
I thought it was brilliant.
mean, I just don't know what to say to people because they're just so willfully ignorant.
Here's the thing, too, and here's the thing. I don't have children. I know that you are a parent. I have never been a
Yeah.
parent. I will never be a parent. I don't. I don't. I don't. It's not like I hate children, right? But like we don't. I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know what to do.
Right.
They freak me out,
Yeah.
right? I have nieces and nephews that I was there for, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I don't. I'm not like
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that this ceremony did not have some sort of chorus of toddlers coming in to sing like a sappy song, right? Like I thought this was
Yeah.
really kind of more adult arty farty. Like I loved it.
It was
Like
really elevated. It
yes,
was
but
really
if you
elevated.
love a chorus of children singing sappy songs, right? Like good for you.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not crapping on that. I'm like, hey, that's just not for me. But if
Right.
this wasn't for you, why the response is like, this is bullshit. Fuck this, right? I'm like, it wasn't.
I know.
It,
It's like so much anger. Calm down.
yeah. Which
So much anger.
brings me to the whole mocking the Last Supper. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't. It wasn't the Last Supper. And two, for the sake of argument, for the just if it was referencing a painting about Jesus,
white Jesus,
what was offensive about it?
right?
And I reached out to a family member of mine who is very, very Christian and very heterosexual, but like is down, right? Like,
right, yeah,
she's down. And finally, I was like, "Can you help me understand?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's because queer people were in it." Like,
yeah,
that's it.
That's it. That's it. That's the whole offense of it. Because,
and that's
like people have been posting online all of these various parody depictions of the Last Supper, including the orange stain sitting in the center seat.
gross. No,
The
I've
thing,
not seen that. No.
yeah, you don't want to see it. I saw it for you. I've
Thank you.
protected you from having to see it.
Thank you. Thank you.
But the thing that at the end of the day, with this whole, oh my gosh, we're so offended by this, whatever.
Yeah.
The absolute lack of knowledge that the painting was done by a gay man.
The Last Supper, if it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the face of Jesus was based on Da Vinci's boyfriend.
Nope. Also,
So also, it's not a historical record, folks. Like, you do realize that it was painted 1600 plus years after the fact.
Right. And it wasn't that painting. It wasn't
No.
it wasn't that painting.
No, it's a different painting by a French painter of the Greek god Dionysus having a bacchanalian feast because, where did the Olympics originate? Greece, that's right.
Right.
It's the basic amount of dumbing down of American education.
And there's outrage, right? Like, I am a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. Our kicker is a cretin. He's the guy who gave the graduation speech that told women they should stay at home as they're graduating from college.
And Serena Williams totally ragged on him at the ESPY Awards.
Yeah, he's a moron. Awesome. He's a moron. And he I think he was like the first tweet to come out that was like, God will not be mocked, right? I'm like, you're so outraged at art. Art caused feelings. You have feelings about art, right? But where is your outrage? Have you said anything about, I don't know, pick a conflict around the world. Pick a conflict at home.
Pick one. Yeah.
Just one. Are you outraged over children not having enough food in America? Are you outraged around homeless veterans? No, you're outraged over art.
Yeah. Are you outraged about Ms. Massey getting shot in the face by a police officer in her own home when she called for help?
Are you outraged?
Are you outraged about that? Because you haven't said a word about that.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to get specific, are you outraged over any inequality? Anything. No, you're outraged over
hunger
art.
Amongst children in the United States. Does that bother you?
No.
No.
Art caused you to have feelings.
Yeah.
And you're mad.
Yeah. I think what they're mad at is stuff that they don't understand.
Okay, talk to me, because I have a theory. They just don't see themselves, but okay.
Yeah, so for example, if we go to the whole Marie Antoinette French Revolution portion of the show.
Yeah.
Right? So they start with a lead-in from Les Mis. Right? So any of us that have seen either the musical or the film adaptation of the musical know that we're talking about Les Mis.
Yeah.
If you know what the story of Les Mis is, it's about the French Revolution. Then we have Marie Antoinette, headless, in the windows, and there's a whole bunch of them. And then we have heavy metal, which was awesome. And then at the end, we have all of these representations of blood spurting, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
I thought it was metal
And
and cool and cool.
It was metal and cool, and it was anti-bourgeoisie, and it was anti-right wing.
Yeah.
And hello, Americans, if you haven't paid attention, France has been undergoing a similar political situation to what we have here in the United States with Le Pen. Now, she lost bigly
hugely
in the French election. Hugely. I like saying
Merci,
bigly
France.
just because it mocks a certain other idiot.
Yep.
So it was a way for the creator of the show to also poke a finger in the eye of what's happening culturally in France and across Europe.
Yeah. Yes.
But you have to pay attention to what's happening in the world to understand the underlying messages that are there. And it's been a really big highlight for me of just how uninterested people in the US are about finding out what's happening anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and then to include a metal band, right? Because rock and roll is rebellious. Metal is revolutionary, right?
Right.
And now my French has just left me. They're saying that it came out of the revolution of like basically it's going to be okay, right? That was the song they were singing, was the saying coming out of it, right? And it was I just thought it was brilliant. I got the Les Mis. I've never even seen Les Mis, but I was like, I know what they're doing. They're tying this in. Of course, they would bring like all these important cultural references they brought in.
Right.
The lack of understanding of that, the lack of curiosity, also the lack of appreciation of just how stunning it looked, right? Like it just looked. When he went to the Louvre. Yes.
And they couldn't like rehearse any of this stuff.
Yes, that was the other thing. They rehearsed on replicated sound stages, and then they were like, go to Paris and do it. Like,
yeah.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was beautiful, from the innocuous to the provocative, right? Like when French Spirit went into the Louvre and all the art came off the walls, and I was like, this is amazing. This is beautiful. Yeah. Even if you didn't appreciate the aesthetic of it, I don't understand what you're shitting on unless, one, okay, you don't understand.
Right.
Two, I'm so tired of this chestnut. So tired of kicking this can. But if you don't see yourself in it, mainstream cis het patriarchal America, your reaction seems to be to shit on it.
Yeah.
If it like if it's not about me, then like well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's French. It's French. It's not about us. It's about France.
I mean, people are mad about the fact that the athletes came in on boats down the Seine.
It's the Seine. It's like iconic French thing is the Seine.
I thought it was flipping cool doing it that way.
I thought it was cool too. I like the little boats, more big boats,
more people got to experience watching the athletes coming in than they would if they had it in a stadium somewhere where they marched them in like cattle.
And I thought about being the athletes, right? Like it must be really grand to walk into the stadium and see this giant stadium full of people cheering for you. That must be cool. But also, how cool is it to be like, opening night, I took a trip through Paris down the Seine, right? Like to see Paris
with crowds all these cheering you for miles.
Yes, people hanging out windows, right? Like
for 3.5 miles.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
How was that bad?
Don't ask me. My only critique of it was after all the boats came through, right? And and the spirit of the Olympics came back from space. That walk up to the catwalk shaped like the Eiffel Tower to raise the flag. And then that took 3 weeks. And then the handing off of the torch among different French athletes to light the fucking balloon, which I loved. That took another 5 weeks. So that to me stretched. That was like, okay, mon amis, we got a TikTok, let's go.
Yeah.
But
well, and like we got to that part, and my partner was like, "Why a balloon?" And I'm like, "Oh, because the first hydrogen balloon was launched in Paris in the 1800s." And she's like, "How do you know this stuff?"
It was
and
so
I'm like,
cool.
Because I watched like all of the Three Musketeers movies, and it's like relative and storyline.
Yes. I loved that the Olympic cauldron is a balloon. Like, it's so French. I loved it. I loved it. Celine Dion. I was crying. Hearing Kelly Clarkson cry, I started crying. Like, it was.
Oh my gosh. When she was like, I can't talk. It was like, oh.
I know. And I kept saying through the whole broadcast, I'm like, Kelly Clarkson is all of us. Because there's a couple times where she's like, you got to give me a minute. Like, I'm emotional. I'm like, yes, Kelly, you are all of us.
Yeah.
Like, it was.
Honestly, I liked her as a color commentator for the opening.
Yeah, she did well.
I don't know if you caught it, but I totally caught it. The quick comeback on the misogyny about the spirit of Paris running through Paris, right? At one point, one of the men says, "Well, we don't know who he is, blah blah blah," and she's like, "It could be a woman."
Oh, I missed that. Get it, Kelly?
Like immediately, and I was like, "Yeah." Call them out on their presumptions.
And Kelly also said some. It was a little coded. I'll say coded only because she didn't say queer or LGBTQ. But that whole Bacchanal fashion runway moment thing, and she's like, "I love seeing all this representation, all these different identities coming together." I'm like, "We know what you're saying, Kelly. We know what you're saying." Yeah. Nikki Doll
that
looked
was great.
Tight.
Yeah.
And
Piche, it was so nice to see Piche, too, from Drag Race France Season 2, the bearded queen.
Oh, I was like, that face is familiar. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was like, that face is familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, apparently the lady DJ with the halo is getting death threats because, if something offends you, you should murder it.
Yeah.
Seems...
So I put out a little video about the opening ceremonies and what I thought of them on my Instagram page.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally had to turn off the commenting for the public. Like, now you have to follow me in order to be able to comment on that particular video. Because the hatefulness and transphobia and homophobia displayed by people was sickening. And I do a pretty good job of monitoring my page to like block and delete. But like, I have to sleep. As little as I do sleep, and as poorly as I sleep, I do need to actually log off once in a while. And I would come back and there would be like 40 or 50 just hate messages. Or people sending me DMs telling me, let's see, one of them was, "I'm fucking evil."
Oh, that's a judgment.
I should die.
Oh,
I get that one a lot, honestly.
That's very Christian. That's so loving.
Isn't it though? Yeah.
It's so Christ-like.
So love thy neighbor. Yeah. The ones, honestly, the ones that crack me up the most are the people that are like, "You're a woman. You're always going to be a woman. There's nothing about you that, blah, blah, blah." And, some of my actual followers will comment and be like, "Are you stupid? Because you sound stupid."
Yeah.
Like, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you need to go to the hospital? Are you all right?"
Yeah. Did you hit your head? Do you need someone to watch you while you take a nap?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say I'm
like,
sorry.
I dare any of them to come say that to my face because they're not going to.
No. I got a few. I didn't. I hate that I even need to say like I didn't get it as bad because neither one of us should get it as bad, right? It's
No.
fucking
Yeah.
awful. But I got a lot of well-meaning of like in my family of like you know we don't agree with hate because people shouldn't be hated for their personal choices. I'm like, my personal
Mm.
choice,
Mm.
my personal choice. What is my personal choice in this matter? So I don't know what they mean. I'm going to play dumb, but at least they're not telling me to go kill myself. So that's gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatevs.
Yeah. So, and I try really hard to like make my social media stuff be about positivity because frankly, a lot of kids look at my stuff, young people in their teens who feel alone wherever they are.
Yeah. And frankly, the medicine for hate isn't more hate. The medicine for fear isn't more
Right.
fear, right? The medicine
No.
for it's sadness isn't more sadness, right?
No. Right.
It really is like rise above. Those
Yeah.
people are so insignificant. Let
I,
them be
I
in their
feel
weird.
I feel pity for them.
Yeah, because it it is just their fear that
Yeah.
they can't make a relationship with. They can't heal themselves. So fuck you for making me feel afraid, right? Like that's what it is. It's
Right.
lashing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
It's
fear
like you're
that they
making me
feel,
think about something
yeah, it's
and I don't want to
just
have to think.
yeah. The argument of like, well, I don't know why you call it phobia. I'm not scared of anything. I'm like, oh, buddy, but you're terrified. You really are. You're
Yeah.
terrified of the confusion you feel that you want to be a good person and you want to believe in God, and so you're just like, bleh, and so you can't deal with it.
Yep.
It is fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. So
Yeah.
the other thing that we should talk about, since
Yeah.
it's the Olympics, is the
Yeah.
decision that they recently made around trans athletes not being able to participate in a whole slew of sports that
Yeah.
they've previously been allowed to participate in, which
Yeah.
makes absolutely no sense to me, other than capitulating to that fear and hatred that's being driven by a phenomenally small number of people. They're just
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah, I had a cis person ask me my opinion on that, and I was like, "Look,
Hmm.
I love to think that I'm an expert on a lot of things. I am not an expert on international athletic competition. I'm not. I don't know, but here's what I do know: trans people are real, right? Like,
Right.
so,
Like we
right? Like,
exist.
yeah, we really are real, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't understand. I was a theater geek, right? Like I'm not an athlete. I don't know. I don't know anything about competition. Is not my thing. But
Right.
as long as we start with trans people are real and are athletic,
Right.
then we need to figure out what comes next. But like this whole
Right.
like you can't compete. You're you're cheating because you're just
I mean,
the
it's ridiculous.
right. I want to win so bad that I'm going to take a bunch of hormones, maybe get surgery,
Right.
change all my documents, set myself up as a target so I can win over you. Like the cognitive dissonance, once again, is mighty spicy. So can we at least start with recognize that trans people are real? They have a right to compete in athletics
Right.
just like every cis people do.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
For me, like I was part of a committee that worked with the Washington State Interscholastic Athletic Association, probably 20 years ago at this point, maybe even longer.
Cool.
WIAA wanted to create a new policy around trans athletic participation in after school programming. So that
Dig
includes
it.
everything from football to the debate team to the chess club, right? And
Yeah.
everything in between.
Yeah.
And so it was myself, it was two representatives from the Washington State uh, Office of Civil Rights. It was a couple of lawyers from the National Center for Lesbian Rights, the director of ACLU of Washington, and a representative from the Intersex Society of North America.
Dig it.
and then obviously the people from WIA. And they asked us to come to help them develop a policy that they could put into place. That policy has been in effect now for at least 20 years without a single problem.
Right on.
Without a single
Right
problem.
on. Yeah.
You know, and when, I mean, for me, having been a tennis fan back in the day, I remember when Renee Richards was fighting to be able to play on the women's tour.
Yeah.
And, you know, the fact of the matter is that trans people exist. Trans people participate in sport.
Mm-hmm.
And much like everybody else, the number of trans people that participate in sport at an elite athletic level is minuscule.
Yeah, we're not at this day and time on the calendar. There's less of us than there are cis people, right? like
By a lot.
And so there's less elite athletes as compared to other people. And so when you put that together, right, like what are we talking about? But all of these legislative bodies are spending how much taxpayer money and time to say trans women can't compete with other women, because I don't think they care as much about trans men. It's always trans women, because
no, they don't. They never even talk about us. It is,
yeah,
you know, and there are actually trans men on the Olympic cycling team. Chris Mosier, who's a great guy. If you don't follow him on social media, I really encourage you all to follow Chris Mosier. He's very competent in talking about why trans athletes should be allowed to participate, and he's a huge lobbyist at this point. You know,
dig it.
in addition to doing all of the training that he has to do to be an elite athlete. You know, I remember there was the young guy who was a wrestler in Texas who was forced to wrestle on the women's team, and then they were pissy that he won everything.
Ain't that something?
It's like, well, you're not letting him compete on the men's side or the boys' side.
Yeah. What's going to happen? Yeah.
You're getting exactly the result that you asked for.
Yeah.
But you forgot that we exist.
Yeah, it's always trans women, and it's always, you know, we could dissect that. I think any queer trans person understands why, because misogyny and queerphobia, right?
Well,
that's always the boogeyman.
But also, I think there's a huge amount of, especially for adult trans women, I think a lot of it is about exotification and erotification of trans women by cis men.
Okay, throw that into the equation too.
They're afraid of the fact that they're attracted to these women.
Oops.
And what does that mean about them?
Yeah.
It means you're attracted to that woman. That's all that means.
Yeah. Yeah, you like hot women. Okay. Here's some variety of hot women. Right?
Okay. But there is that element of just being, which is why I think, you know, when we talk about murders of or any other kind of violence perpetrated against trans people, particularly trans women, that violence is very personal. It's very up close. It's generally related to some sort of sexual contact with the perpetrator. And that is about, again, their fear of having to examine something about themselves that they don't want to look at.
Yeah. And that, like, what you said earlier is that it's sad, because in a community of men, cis men are our brothers, right? And my heart just breaks for them. I'm not going to hold a Kleenex box out for them because they're breaking their own hearts. But like it, the fear, the repression, the denial of parts of themselves, right? Like, it's just unnecessary. You're punishing everybody in your orbit, including yourself, dudes, right? Like, you're punishing yourselves. You're punishing the people that are making you have feelings, right? Like, it's just unnecessary. And I know that's really a simplification of being like, hatred isn't necessary. We all know that, but it's just it comes from a lack of feeling that you can be yourself and still have connection to others, right? Because that's what conformity is. I don't want to be put outside of the village. I can't. I'll be alone and I'll be scared. And my little lizard brain is like, no, because wolves will eat me. I get it, right? But you can be in a village and be yourself. Find a better village.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I just heard today, and I don't know much about him, but apparently there's a trans boxer from the Philippines, a trans man who's like,
oh yeah,
I've not done any,
he's like
I'm not taking hormones, I'm not doing surgery.
Boxer.
Yeah, but he's going to box in the Olympics, right? And I'm like, that is a dude.
Yeah, so there's him, and there's also a professional boxer from Mexico, I believe, trans guy who has been very successful. But of course, nobody talks about him because how boring, a man.
Yeah. So I'm pleased and encouraged that I think this looks like the queerest Olympics I've seen in a while, right? Like Tom Daley being the flag bearer for Great Britain, right? And all just like all the queer representation. And also like Tom Daley's, did you see him dive yesterday? You know, the divers always have that weird towel that they towel off with, that big rainbow towel, right? Like I'm like, get it, Tom.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the queer,
like,
you know, the
super absorbent little towels.
Yeah. The women's soccer team having to talk about like the one super homophobe on their team while they're at the Olympics. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's a distraction. But part of me is like, yeah, let's talk about this. That there's one person on the team who is being a ding dong, right? But the whole team is like, we're cool. Right. So it feels really hopeful. It feels great. And that's the irony of this, is that so many straight people are pissed off because they don't see themselves. And when I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I see myself. This is so fantastic. Finally, maybe you know what we feel like.
Right. Like, so, watching the diving yesterday, they're like talking about Tom and his husband Lance and their two kids, and then they like pan to the family out in the stands, and Lance is like pointing at, look at your dad, there he is, he's diving. That is, I think, especially for us who are a little older, the fact that we're seeing that in our lifetime.
Yeah. That's new.
I would not have believed that was going to be possible in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it is.
And hearing the commentators be like, Tom was done diving, and then they went to the diving museum or something, and the kid was like, Dad, I want to see you dive. Like, they just told the story about a family.
Right. That's all it was.
That was it.
Yeah.
It's just a family.
Yeah. We've been do you watch House of Dragons?
I don't.
Because
I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. So they have this whole behind the scenes making of House of Dragons, which is great because they keep talking. So the lead character, Rhaenyra, is this, ostensibly the queen of the kingdoms, and is played by a non-binary actor. And the fact that everybody on the crew that they interview that talks about them has no problem with they them pronouns talking about this actor is like, it's such a model for how easy it is. If these folks can do it, you can too.
Yeah.
These are like, guys that are making the sets that are, in their 40s and 50s, and they're construction dudes, and they're like, well, they came out on the set and they really enjoyed what we had done with this and blah, blah, blah. And they're just talking about this one singular actor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we know all of these arguments about woke language is just bullshit. Also, thank you, federal judge, for shooting down Ron DeSantis's Stop the Woke Act. Right? It's like, nope, that is not, we're not doing that. right?
Yeah.
Like it's
And we all
just
know what woke and DEI hire. Like, come on. If
yeah,
you have any sense, you know that that's their substitute for the N word. And it's a dog
yes,
whistle. That's all it is.
yeah, and I
Like, what are you
I'm
so
just
afraid of?
it's just not holding water for me, right? Like you're so mad at language evolving. That's what language does. I have
Yeah.
zero idea what anyone below 30 is talking about in their slang. I I don't get any of it. I don't know what you're saying. But I'm not like, you
Yeah.
motherfuckers need to speak, right? Like, no, I'm like, all right, it's not for
Right.
me, right? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck you're talking about,
Yeah.
kid. You gotta tell me what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I know. We were
that's how it
talking the other
is.
day, and my partner said something about, so do you know what Riz means? And I'm like, I have what?
Oh, I
Riz?
learned that one.
What?
Yeah.
I have no idea. And she was like, well, I looked it up on Urban Dictionary, and this is apparently what it means. I'm like, okay, well, good. Now we know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Apparently it's
like
short for charisma. Is that
yeah,
that?
something like you've got some
Yeah.
swag or something.
Yeah. It's short for charisma. And I'm like, great, kids, do it. I don't,
Yeah,
great. Because, our language confounded our parents, right? Like, I don't care. I
exactly.
don't care. Your language is not for me, just
Exactly.
like
Right.
I've aged out of cultural relevancy. I accept that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. So, you know what, old white dudes, like simmer down now, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not.
It's like sit
It's
down.
what
It's
language
your
does.
time has passed.
Yes, yes. It's what language does. It's what art does. It's what understanding
Yeah.
does. It evolves. It gets
Yeah.
it gets clearer the more we go, or it just becomes more relevant to that. That's fine. It's fine. It doesn't need to be all about us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you remember last time we talked about Chapel Roan and Sasha Colby and the
Mm-hmm.
whole, I'm your drag queen's favorite drag queen, I'm your
Yeah.
artist's favorite artist, and
Yeah.
Chapel Roan talking about how um, she knew that it was probably just some like little twink at Google that was like, oh, we like her. And, um, but that has been like in my head thinking about Kamala Harris's staff that's running like her Twitter and Threads
Yeah.
accounts. They are on fire. Whoever is working in her campaign, clearly queer because nobody else is that shady.
I'm living. I'm living for it.
It
Yeah.
was so great. They put out this like official statement um, after what's his name had been on Fox, and they're like bullet. So the headline was 78-year-old convicted felon appears on Fox News.
Oh, and was this all their bullet
And
points
they're
of
like little bullet
their
points about all the stuff that he lied about, right? And then at
yeah,
the end, it's like, he seems old and weird,
yeah,
and he should
yeah,
never be president, right?
yeah,
So, like, just that they're willing to put that into an official press release. I was like, you know what? I love this campaign already.
yeah. Because get this younger generation fired up, right? Like we need their votes. It's their country. Like they're inheriting it. So like, come on,
Yeah,
come on, come on,
yeah.
step into
I
it.
mean, the amount of energy is palpable, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. And so yes, use the language that resonates with them, right? It's
Right.
that's
The whole thing
it's
about
okay
specifically choosing that lime neon green from Charlie XCX's Brat album.
for her. Was it the suit she was wearing, or was it the?
No, no, no. That's what when they announced that Biden was
Oh
stepping
yeah,
down in
yeah,
her campaign,
yeah,
the sort of temporary thing used that particular color when they
yeah,
immediately put up her campaign stuff.
yeah.
And then, the whole coconut tree thing is from her
Yes,
saying that.
yeah,
And then there's been all these little remixes done and whatever. And there was some congressman who was on CNN, I think, and the host on CNN said, "So do you understand what this brat thing is all about?" And And he's like, "Oh yeah, no, that's from the Charlie XCX album. That's Brat, and it's got this neon green color, and it's, and it really speaks to young people in terms of rebelliousness." And the host is like, "I, oh, okay, I wasn't
Oh,
expecting
yeah,
you to know." And this is a younger guy who's a congressman. Of
yeah,
course, he's gonna know.
yeah, yeah. Like talk to people in a language they understand. That's what
Yeah.
politicians do every day, all day long. Talk to people in a language
Yep.
they understand. So,
Yeah.
if I don't get it, I know that means it's somebody younger than me does, right? Like,
Yeah. Yep.
that's okay. I
Yeah.
This is not about politics. This is about speaking the same language. I was talking to somebody in their 20s about music, right? And I was like, "Well,
Hmm.
who's your favorite band? What's your favorite genre?" Right? And she's like, "Oh my god, I love it all." And she's like, I just love everything." And I said, "Okay." I said, whose CDs do you have the most of?" And we stared at each other because we both knew I said the wrong thing. And I
That's
took a
that's
beat.
that's akin to asking us, "What's your favorite 8-track
Yeah. And I was like, "Nope, that's not what I need to ask." And she's like, "Oh, my Spotify data." And I was like,
playlist?"
yep, give me that. I was like, I am saying old people words to you. Like,
And you are
right?
looking at me like I am speaking some foreign language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, we both know I said something wrong. but that's fine. That is fine. Do I still have all my CDs? I absolutely do, in a box in the garage. I do. Does she ever seen a
Same
CD?
with
No, she has
me. They're
not.
all in those little binders,
Oh, you got the
and
binders. Oh
I've
yeah.
got binders, and they're all out in the
Yeah.
garage. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck to do with them. Turn
I
them
don't
into art,
either.
I
I don't
guess.
either. I don't have anything to play them on. Like what? Like I don't even have.
What am I
I
going to
guess I
play
could
them
put them
on?
in the car.
I don't even have one. I don't even have a CD player in the car.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah.
No,
I
wait, no,
think
that's
ours
not true.
does.
One of the cars does have a CD player in it.
I think ours does. Shit. Who knows? Okay. So there we go. Life evolves. Everything evolves. It doesn't always have to be about you. It's okay if you don't
Technology
understand it.
changes. It's
Language
okay.
changes. Understanding of human nature changes. It's okay.
And
It's
guess
okay.
what? Google exists,
Yes.
as do other people that you can talk to find out
Yeah.
about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So reach out to
If
them
you
and
don't
ask.
know, ask.
Yeah. Don't follow up with "you should die." Just say thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Just some suggestions.
yeah. Just,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go watch the Olympics,
Me too. I'm gonna go
and
catch the replay of the women's gymnastics team
me too.
final.
Me too. Unfortunately, I think I know the outcome, but
I
that's
know
all
who
right.
won, but that's okay.
Yes. Yes.
It'll still be cool.
Congratulations to the men's team for winning the bronze last night. I love
I know.
that pommel horse neurodivergent
Yeah,
kid like brought it home. I'm like, yes, yes.
yeah, yeah.
Diversity
He was
matters.
sitting there doing Rubik's Cube on the side
Under
while he was waiting
un,
for 2.5 hours to do his one
he
event.
can do it under 10 seconds.
I know. I
Get it?
couldn't do it if you gave me a year.
No. I remember having
No.
one in third grade, and I was like, "This is stupid," and I gave it
Yeah.
to a kid named Paul. Yeah.
Oh,
All
well, there
right.
you go.
Well,
All right
yeah.
then.
All right. As always, I am Uncle Drew. That is
Yep.
Trans Dad
Trans
Spencer.
Dad
This is
Spencer
This Effen Show. You can follow us on Instagram at This Effen Show. Also, the channel is on YouTube, and
and Spotify.
dig it. All right, y'all.
All
Take
right.
care of each other.
Yep.
Bye.
Be good. Bye.
Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of This Effen Show. Do us a favor and give us a follow on Instagram and YouTube at This Effen Show.
And you can email your comments or questions to us at thiseffenshow@gmail.com.
See you next time.